You are listening to the Central Indiana Sports Report, episode 157.5.3, our Oak Hill Golden Eagles weekend preview with co-host Michelle Garmon and guest Kevin Renbarger, head coach of the Golden Eagles.
You're listening to the Central Indiana Sports Report with your host, Greg Mengels.
Welcome, basketball fans, to our Oak Hill Golden Eagles weekend preview. Oak Hill is 9-3 overall, 3-0 in the CIC, and has a couple of CIC games coming up next. This Friday, the Eagles are at Alexandria to face a 4-10 Alexandria team that's young and starting to play very well. Oak Hill has won 4 straight games and 7 of its last 8. And Michelle Garmon of the Tipton Tribune and Elwood Call Leader and I spoke with Oak Hill head coach Kevin Renbarger about his team and Friday's matchup with Alexandria. Alexandria this weekend, coach, it's a team that we thought this might be the case where they struggled early on because they were so young, and suddenly they're starting to look pretty athletic and like a pretty good team.
Yeah, I think a lot of it has to do with their schedule, as you said. You really kind of dig deeper into some teams that they had to play. They went down and played in a tournament and played Northeastern, and they're rated in the top 10 in 2A. And then they've played Lapel, part of the Madison County tourney. And they're on the right at the edge or in the top 10. Anderson. And so, yeah, they played Anderson, and so they've played a pretty tough schedule. And they've struggled with teams as well that have a lot of size. And we don't have a lot of size. The teams that they've been able to handle or the teams that they've been competitive with have been teams that have been, on their same level, so to speak, in regards to height. And that's what we are. So, if you give Coach Carroll an opportunity to run his stuff and run it well and do all of the bag of tricks that they do, you could be in for a long evening. Alexandria has always been a tough place for us to play.
Is it key? Because I think Alexandria is the kind of team that they like to get out and go if they can and everything, but kind of team that sometimes they don't necessarily like to grind it out defensively.
They can be a kitchen sink kind of a defense when you really kind of study. They'll play 3 or 4 different kinds of presses, a 2-2-1. They'll run a diamond press, a run and jump. They'll do the same thing in the half court. We've seen man-to-man. We've seen zone. We've seen a run and jump in the half court, triangle and 2, box and 1. And so they kind of mess around with whatever it is that fits that particular opponent and that night, and find that soft spot and kind of squeeze. And then on the offensive end, they get the ball out and run. They run the sideline break, and then they'll run the shuffle offense that Coach Carroll's been known to run. I think he helped install that at Frankton with Coach Brobston and brought it over to Alexandria when he came over. So they run that's a program type offense where they run it from the beginning all the way through to the varsity level, and the kids know what to do. They know what to look for out of it, and they play very well out of it. So it's just a very different, tough team to prepare for because you've got to take advantage of what do you have in to kind of counter the number of things that you could see on both the offensive and defensive end.
Well, Coach, I'm going to ask, are you kind of glad that this week you only have the one game? I don't know what your school corporation did during the cold weather and everything, but I would imagine that it's kind of nice knowing you just have that one game and that you only had to prepare for one. You only have to prepare for one team this weekend.
Well, actually, we didn't. We had a game last night. It was a makeup game. We ended up playing, or not last night. I'm sorry, Tuesday night. We played
That's right.
Southwood. But we already had a prep in for Southwoods, and so we had Monday off anyways with Martin Luther King Day, and so we were kind of able to, I don't know, I guess review what we were talking about with Southwood, but then also do some things. The kids didn't know it, but we were doing some things to install some stuff for Alexandria. We're able to play Tuesday night and then come back and have 2 full days to prepare. We are very fortunate that we have a superintendent who trusts our athletic director to make a call in regards to whether it's safe or not to practice, and we haven't lost any practice time because of it. And so, we're about as prepared as we're going to be going into Friday night.
Coach, speaking of Tuesday night, I don't know, Jason. The way I heard the story makes it sound like he just did whatever he wanted to score, and then got bored with that, and did whatever he wanted to pass, and uh, 16 points in the first 2 quarters, and then 15 assists after that. Just amazing performance.
Yeah, it was. We had two amazing performances, really. He had 15 points on his own. He set the school record. Actually, had 17 assists.
Wow.
That record has been in place at Oak Hill since 1977, and he was able to break that.
Wow.
We were able to score a lot in transition, and when he got the ball out, he was able to throw ahead. And the recipients of a lot of his passes was the kid who scored a career high 30 points that night, and that's RJ Shugart. RJ shot 12 of 16 from the field, and I think was something like 4 of 6 from the 3-point line. We had an offensive explosion, and we actually had it coming, to be honest with you. We've had some games where we hadn't shot the ball particularly well, especially Jace and RJ. And Tuesday night, we were fortunate enough to have both of them kind of quote unquote on that night, shot 60% from the 3-point line, and, obviously comfortably won on Tuesday night. So definitely a good feeling for what we've got going on. We played well against Eastbrook last Friday, probably our best game. We were worried with all of the circumstances that you talked about earlier, with the weather and being out of school and all of those things, what would happen going into Southwood. And I thought we actually played better Tuesday night than we did last Friday, with everything that was on the line last Friday against Eastbrook. And so we feel like we're in a good space. You never know with 16, 17-year-old kids, but feel like we're in a good space, getting on a bus, getting ready to go over to Alexandria tomorrow.
Well, Coach, who was that? Whose record did he break?
Jeff Pearson.
Okay.
Jeff, actually, he's my cousin. He's my first cousin. And I told Jace yesterday, if I'd have known he was so close to the record, I would have pulled him out. But I guess I didn't know. Jeff was, we have what's called a Mark Black Award winner, which is the most outstanding senior athlete, and he was the 77 recipient. He actually was a football coach over at Western Boone and won 2 state championships back in the late 80s and early 90s as coach of the Western Boone Stars. So from one point guard to another, I guess, 77 to 2025 is quite a while.
Yeah. Are you glad as you head in? Well, there's only basically a month and a half left of the season. Are you happy to just have the 10 games? Well, you feel like you've already played 12 and you only have 10 games over that time period. Is that kind of nice to be able to maybe stay in a flow, but at the same time be your legs be kind of rested going into the tournament?
We've always been able to kind of peak at the right time, or at least improve over the course of the season. Being the head coach here for 20 years, we've had probably less than 5 teams that didn't at least, head in the right direction by the time tournament came around. Some of that has to do with backing off in practice. It's been our philosophy to back off in time spent on the floor, and kind of get off of their legs a little bit. I like the way our schedule is set up. We've got 10 games left. We've got just a little over a month to go. We're going to play more than we are practicing at this point. And so next week is kind of a anomaly. We're going to practice all week and then play a couple of games on the weekend. And we don't have a lot of those opportunities left. We're going to see a lot of Tuesday, Friday opportunities over the last, 3 weeks of the season. So, it sets up pretty nicely for that. The kids are going to want to play ball now, as opposed to coming in and listening to me every day from 3 to 5.
Thank you so much to Coach Renbarger and to Michelle Garmon for joining the Central Indiana Sports Report, and thank you for listening. Please go like, subscribe, or follow us so you don't miss a single segment. Don't forget we're on YouTube now, and it would be very nice of you if you would tell a friend about the Central Indiana Sports Report. Central Indiana Sports Report is a product of ITG Media, and I love Susie.